If you're swinging hard and still scoring in the 90s, one of these 3 habits is the reason why. If you've been struggling to break 90, this video is for you. Hi, my name is Justin Klumbala and I'm the founder of Breaking Bogeys, and our mission is to help people breaking 100 or break 90 for the first time. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't visited my website already, go over to breakingbogeys.com and see the transformations that we're making with golfers every single day. Habit number 1 is over-focusing on swing mechanics. Swing mechanics seems like it's a great step towards getting better at golf, but a lot of times it makes people play worse. A lot of times your golf swing is already pretty good at the way that it is. You just need some external cues for you to be playing better. What's an external cue? An external cue is having you focus on something outside of your body. And what I mean by that is that having more focus on maybe hitting the ground out in front of the golf ball is an external cue. Making sure that the club face is either more closed or more open is an external cue. But a lot of times people are too focused on their hips and how much their hips are turning, for example, or how straight their left arm is in the backswing, or how much their head is staying down coming through the golf ball. These are all called internal cues because they're focusing too much on their body. If you're focusing a lot on your body when you're swinging, it overcomplicates things and actually makes people play worse. So what I would say is that going forward, if your goal is to break 100 or break 90, I want you to refocus your attention into some external cues, such as focusing in on hitting the ground ahead of the golf ball, trying to get the club face a little bit more closed or more open if you have directional issues, but keeping your focus more on the external will definitely be something that's going to help you progress so much faster than working so much on internal ideas. Although thinking about body parts and what they should be doing in the golf swing seems like a good logical way to get a better golf swing, it tends to overcomplicate things and you'll have a lot more success thinking of those external cues that I mentioned earlier. Habit number 2 is flipping at the bottom. This is a common problem that a lot of people trying to break 90 or break 100 are struggling with. And this idea of flipping at the bottom can be fixed if you use that external cue versus internal cue idea that I talked about just a little bit earlier. I want to give you an idea that's going to help you get rid of your flip that might be different than what you've heard in the past. So let's first talk about, where did the flip come from? Why do people actually flip the club down here at the bottom of our swing? Because their goal is to get the ball airborne. We all know in the game of golf that getting the ball airborne is a very important thing. And when we see that ball going up in the air, we're very, very satisfied with the outcome. But when we see the ball roll along the ground, we're very dissatisfied with it. So there's a lot of subconscious efforts that are in your body that's trying to help the ball be successful. But the nice thing about golf and the golf club itself is that it does not need our help to get the ball airborne. Going back to that initial thought that we talked about at the beginning of the video, if you think of an external idea, you can get rid of your flip. Here it is. When people are trying to flip the club down here at the bottom, what happens is that the low point of their swing, so a low point means that when I'm swinging in a circle, the bottom part of my circle ends up becoming a little bit behind the ball because the person is trying to help the ball go up into the air. So they flip early to help that ball get airborne. To get rid of your flip, what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to shift that low point to in front of the golf ball. And how are you going to do that? You're going to think of an external cue, which is thinking of out in front of the golf ball. We want the club to land ahead of the golf ball. So what you're going to do to fix your flip is you're going to take 2 practice swings before you hit the shot. Notice what I'm doing when I take these practice swings is I'm aiming for this spot way out in front of the ball. I'm not aiming for where the ball will be. I'm aiming for about 3 or 4 inches out in front. So I take a practice swing and I get the club to land way out here in front of the ball. Watch again. So I'm getting the club to land way out in front. What happens is that when you get the club to land way out in front and I slow down the swing, what happens is that we actually hang on to that angle that's so crucially important to good contact. When the low point is behind the ball and the club is bottoming out behind the golf ball, that's usually when we have that flip happening coming into the golf ball. So what's the real cause of people that are flipping the golf club? They're attempting to help the ball go in the air. What do those people need to realize? That the golf club does not need our help to get the ball to go into the air. The golf club already has some loft on the golf club that's going to project the ball into the air already. Our job is to get the club to land at the correct spot. So if I can get the club to land ahead of the golf ball, you're going to have such a better outcome when the ball gets up into the air. And then finally, habit number 3 that people trying to break 100 or break 90 are not doing is that they do not have a plan when they practice. They're just going out and just randomly hitting golf balls on the driving range and don't really have a plan. So one idea that I share with a lot of my students is to use the 1/3 theory. And what's the 1/3 theory? Is that we're going to split up the time that you have to practice into 3 categories. 1/3 of your time you're going to spend on putting. 1/3 of your time you're going to spend on chipping, pitching, or bunkers, which is basically short game. And then 1/3 of your time you're going to spend on full swing. So that's what you're going to want to do. You're going to want to split up your time where you're dividing your time into different areas of the game versus just banging balls on the driving range for an entire hour. So if you have an hour to practice, and I want you to spend 20 minutes on full swing, 20 minutes on short game, chipping, pitching, and bunkers, and then 20 minutes on putting. Make sure that you're switching it up and you have a plan on what you're doing versus just randomly hitting balls. So to recap, the 3 habits we talked about in this video. 1, we want to think externally, not internally. So if you're thinking about body parts in your swing, where you're trying to turn your shoulders more, turn your hips more, keep your arms straighter, these are ideas that I do not think will be very, very helpful to you. So we want to keep the focus a little bit more external, like hitting the ground out in front of the golf ball, changing the club face in your hands, anything that has to do with the golf club or something outside of your body. We want to keep the focus more there than any internal thoughts. Habit number 2, we want to get rid of flipping. Flipping is a bad swing flaw that a lot of people trying to break 100 or break 90 have. And the way that we fixed that today was having the focus being more out in front of the golf ball. So if we can get that club to land in front of the golf ball, we're going to naturally hang on to the lag and get rid of our flip. If we're attempting to try to help the ball go in the air, there's going to be an early flip, which is going to make the low point of your swing be behind the golf ball. So keeping that focus in the external and making sure it's as far in front of the ball as you possibly can will help you get rid of that flip, which is bad habit number 2. And then finally, bad habit number 3 is not having a plan when you go to the range. So we want to apply that 1/3 rule where we're splitting up our time into thirds and spending equal time in different areas of the game as we are out on the range. And one quick bonus tip here at the end. One idea that I heard from a mentor teacher of mine when I was coming up through the ranks is that if you could work on just hitting the ball more in the center of the club face, it is impossible for you to get worse. And this is once again a good external idea where you're thinking of something outside of your body parts. Using foot powder spray and spraying it on the club face. So using this little spray can here, you can go to like a Walgreens or a CVS to get a can of Dr. Scholl's foot powder spray, and you spray the club face, and all you have to do is spray the face, and you'll see that there's some powder that ends up on my club face there. If you practice with some foot powder spray while you're practicing, it'll show you where you're hitting on the club face. And this bonus tip here will absolutely improve your game. So if you're not practicing with foot powder spray on your club face, this is going to be a bonus tip that will help you immensely. If you're ready to finally break 90 this season, drop a comment below or head to breakingbogeys.com, and I would love to help you break through that score barrier this summer.